All right. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Good. It's
Excellent.
DX Workshop Day.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
So we get into it?
We should. So today we are talking about ROI through audience segmentation.
We are. We're
This
sort
is
of
a good one.
Evolving the subject matter of our digital experience workshops,
Yep.
making it a little bit richer, a little bit deeper here today. We're talking about audience segmentation. This is part of our ongoing monthly digital experience workshop series, where once a month we hit on something more specific, something tactical about raising the impact of your digital experience. You wanted to say something?
No, keep on going.
We don't just do it monthly now. We do it twice a month, because on the alternating weeks at the beginning of the month, we're doing stuff specific to B2B e-commerce.
I knew he was going to say it.
That's what you wanted to say.
That's what I wanted to say. I knew it was coming.
So follow us on LinkedIn. You won't miss a beat. We've sort of stopped introducing ourselves, but because we've been doing this for so long. But I'm Scott.
I'm Steve.
Well, there you go. Now we've done introductions.
I know.
We're with Flywheel, and if there's anything more we can do to help with your digital experience, let us know.
He's one of the founders. I am the customer success director here, and I love it.
That's great. Again, we're here to talk about ROI through audience segmentation. We're going to talk about personas in this, but it's time to make it a little bit more of a meaty conversation, I think.
Yes, because personas have been around for well over a decade.
Yeah,
it's been discussed.
Yeah.
Even though it's still not getting done correctly, it's I think a lot of people understand the base.
Yeah, and so that's still the tool that we're going to share to sort of underwrite and reinforce what we're going to talk about over the course of the next half hour. So go grab the handout that we've got for you. It looks like
I'm going to put the link right in here.
And thank you.
Yeah.
It's a fillable PDF that just kind of reminds you what you want to think about when you're building a persona. And we'll get into defining this a little bit more as we go through. But really what this is doing is helping you with audience segmentation.
Yes.
All right.
100%.
And it is the value of why you can benefit from a persona and audience segmentation that we want to reinforce in what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. The why. That's 100% what the cause of this is.
So
the why.
We want to move our audience, our clients, from a scenario where you're trying to communicate to everybody, where you've got one message that you're hoping resonates. We want to get you to go from that sort of position of broadcasting what you have to say to the masses to a scenario where you're engaging in conversations.
I love that. That's a great analogy.
We want to get you to be having all kinds of conversations simultaneously.
Yeah.
With different audience segments, one-on-one.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of work.
And audience segments that matter. I think that's
key point.
Yes.
Key point. Not trying to be overly sophisticated about this, not trying to boil the ocean.
Yep.
Being really intentional, tactical. That's where the personas come in handy.
Yep.
But taking it to a point where you are being really careful about who you're talking to, what you're saying to them, when you're saying it to them, and doing it in a way where new modern tools are allowing you to offload the work here of those conversations, and probably bubble up to the surface, especially because we're talking to a B2B audience most of the time, the ones that are worth having over the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is moving you through, advancing you from switching from that broadcast style of conversation of communication to conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
We want to do that through audience identification.
Yes.
Which one of these elements under audience identification do you think gets neglected more than the others?
So this is funny. I was looking at this earlier, and the motivation for me
yes, it's the
is
motivation.
100% is the motivation to me is where GA4, Google Analytics, actually changed their entire stack for GA4 because of motivation.
Yeah, wanting to measure engagement and where you are. Yeah.
And I find that every time I have that conversation, it's like, okay, what is the motivation? What is the reason?
Yeah. And I think it ties in really well with thinking about timing. And that gets into journey mapping, which we'll do in another workshop.
Yep.
Where are you in that engagement cycle? I was going to say buyer journey, but you might not be in a buying moment. You might be in some sort of other user engagement. You might be in a service situation. You might be
especially in B2B,
in a discovery or a research, right? So there's different motivations along that journey. And you might have personas that sort of represent potentially somebody from the same audience segment at different stages there. But typically what you do is you create a persona and then you map them over that spectrum of the journey. And their motivations will shift potentially as they go through that journey.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're thinking about audience segmentation, it is all of these things, and thinking about sort of how you can abstract that. Why do we do this? And there's so much benefit. So we obviously set up that frame at the beginning, that context of moving, because we want to move from broadcast to conversation. But when you've got good, well-defined audience segments, boy, does it unlock value for other aspects of what you do, other parts of the organization. Just to have a shared reference that the operations team is like, right, we're servicing that kind of a person. Marketing, sales, even the executive team, support, that you're all of a sudden have this sort of same, you may not agree, but at least you know what you're all talking about. All right.
I'd agree. And I just want to point out, I love the idea of validation. This is my number one on that side of the coin. And the simple fact is, there are, in the larger markets of B2B, you have a lot of data analysts, business analysts coming in, and you need to validate. Right. So building out kind of what we're explaining here today, having that validation is extremely important when you're looking at, what do I do? How am I helping?
And so validation comes from looking at your metrics, talking to the business, talking to clients themselves, making sure that you're not just imagining this or making it up.
And tweaking.
So there are some pitfalls of not doing this well.
I agree.
If you're ignoring segmentation in these journeys, I found some really interesting statistics. And we can share the sources for these. If you'd like the substance, get in touch. If you try to speak to everyone, you will speak to no one. Marketers, 57% of marketers surveyed struggle to create personalized content.
Yep.
Because the rest of that sentence was, because they don't have a good handle on who they're trying to communicate to.
I 100% agree.
And so obviously there's the ones that are just trying to say the same thing and hope it resonates with everyone. There's the ones that think they're speaking to an audience segment when they haven't really defined it well, or they say something 1 month and then they switch, and it's content chaos.
Yes, and I'll even put this out for one of the customers that we've had. The opposite. They did persona building and use cases years ago. And then all of a sudden they still think it's relevant.
Right. And I think this is the other statistic that we all know really well, but is worth repeating. There are so many more people involved in B2B purchasing. And notice that I didn't say on this slide decision making.
Yeah.
I mean in the process, the activity of placing an order.
Yeah. Abs 100%.
And this is where I do get into the buyer journey. There's the research, there's the decision, there's procurement, there's shipping and receiving, there's onboarding. There's a lot of people that are now involved in that transaction. I think there's probably always been a lot of people involved in that transaction, but I think it's more democratized than more than it's ever been. Especially when the guy in the receiving bay can go like, isn't there a better product that fits on our truck better?
That's exactly.
And boom, sends it off to marketing. Who's like, oh, okay, fine, sure, we'll switch.
The digital world has allowed more people to have access to the information to help make decisions.
Right.
But then more people means more chiefs, more cooks in the kitchen.
So if you're not able to speak to the spectrum of individuals and those collection of audience segments involved in the same purchase, you're going to find attrition.
Exactly. So in that audience segment, the reason why you may shift to separate them is because their buying or their, commercial cycle where they would make decisions maybe earlier or later. Right. So the ultimate decision you might not have anything for them if they can't find the information is a good one.
So I think when we've talked about this topic before, we've positioned it in terms of just how to generate a good content strategy, right? But we're trying to emphasize here and provide some data points that show that if you can really do this with intention and purpose, it does help you get a better return on investment. We're going to solve this with personas. This is one piece of the puzzle, one part of the answer here, is understanding how personas can help with what you're trying to do here. Now, personas are similar but different from some of these other terms. They're not audience segments. No. Personas are not target audience or your ideal customer profile. Personas are there to help you build empathy and connection with a representation of a segment of your audience.
Correct. They're from that last screen. They're rolled up of everything. There's a mixture of everything from there.
Or they can be applied to anything there
Correct.
as well. Right. Correct. Right. So the segment is teachers. The persona is Ms. Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Right. We're creating a representation, an artificial representation, stereotypical representation of one person within that audience segment.
Yeah.
Okay. Drawn from observation, drawn from analytics, drawn from conversation, drawn from research, drawn from, the business and what you already know.
Internal stakeholders. Yeah.
So you can put a persona into any one of those categories. They combine elements of everything there. It's more narrative driven. It's a little bit of more of a story that it can be functional, but the reason for that is that it does provide more of an emotive relatability to who that person is.
You use the persona to build the function.
Yeah. So we don't want to go too far into the how. There's lots of tools out there that are going to be beneficial for that. They're usually in some sort of one-page presentation to help you easily socialize what this looks like. I do love reminding people when we get to this point about the value of an anti-persona.
I actually learned this coming into Flywheel. I never had this I built personas for a lot of organizations.
Yeah.
But the anti-persona is something that I actually learned here,
right?
Which I now take to heart because I actually think it's sometimes more important.
Right. So the anti-persona is there to help you contrast against who you're not trying to talk to.
Yes.
And especially in planning, this can be a really good filter. It can be a really good check to be like, okay, we've got something, but have we checked it against the fact that we don't want to attract the wrong kind of person?
I love this from the ROI discussion.
Yeah.
If you're from a large organization watching this is great. Because if you have CSRs,
I think
anyone. Yeah. I'm just using this as an example from, I'm not going to name the name of the company, but CSR is getting called constantly because they've put CTAs in interesting points in the digital ecosystem. And all of a sudden you're just getting a lot of people, and in B2B, you can't really have it as much where they're just the time waste, right? These people aren't getting to the people who need the attention, who want to make a decision. They're reaching out and finding an audience that is just not engaged.
So producing a persona, sorry, an anti-persona is the same as producing a persona. You're creating the same one pager with the same characteristics and data points included in it, but you're playing devil's advocate. You're flipping the coin over, and perhaps it's somebody that you sought but no longer want to value. It could be an archetype or a description of somebody who is an actual threat to the business that can help you again sort of reconcile your plan to make sure that you've thought about sort of how we defend against incursion, like competitive behavior or an honest to goodness real security threat, for example. And then you can use that for other purposes to manage or deflect some of that. So listen, if you're going to do one of the two of these, start with persona. If you've done personas before and you're like, yeah, we've heard all this. Do you have an anti-persona? You'll be like, yeah, but that's a bit too, like, just, hey, why not? Spend a half an hour, write it up and stop there. And then the next time you do some strategy, you got one more element to use to harden the sophistication of what you're putting together.
Yeah, I believe you need to be talking for this one to your sales team, or your customer service, or ops, whoever is having these conversations, whoever has to help close, make these get to the end. That's the anti-persona is actually fun. We did this exercise yesterday for what we were doing.
Okay, so let's a few more data points here. So you've seen the challenge. There's other ways to achieve ROI through audience segmentation, but the best practice, one of the best practices is still that persona resource. To unlock the ROI, we've got a couple of other data points that will come up here. So if you can do this right, 51% increase in conversion rates. And we've seen this through our own content. We've seen this through our own website. I've gotten this far in, and I haven't mentioned our event on June the 3rd. We're doing a digital momentum summit on June the 3rd. We'll put the link in here. But the reason I brought that up right now is we've taken a sort of a narrow the funnel approach to marketing and getting interest for that event. As soon as we got it organized, as soon as we booked the space, as soon as we had our speakers, and we went all out there. Everybody, top of that funnel. Hey, let's go. Post it on LinkedIn, indiscriminate, off we go. All right. Then, and that's fine, right? Because we just get the word out there, right? Okay, great. It's out there, and those announcements persist. We got a little bit of traction. But then we sat down with a couple of our partners who are supporting the event with us, and we said, who do you want to see there? And we got really specific. And then we got more honed in on some direct outreach, some channel specific communication. And we did a mild anti-persona yesterday as well. Which I really liked. I really enjoyed that. I was like, yes, I agree with this. We were like, do you agree? Yes. Just making sure that we have the people in the room that are going to value the content more than others, and that we're interested in talking to be totally honest. That's why we're doing the event, right? And we only did this like at the beginning of the month, like a couple of weeks ago. Right. So instantly saw a boost in registrations and sign up. Okay. Absolutely. Even in the last 3 days, I've had a lot more connections, a lot more people saying, okay, let's do this. Go grab your tickets if you haven't already. It's a smaller event, 100 people only. And it's at this point just under 2 months away. And we're starting to fill up. You can contact me through LinkedIn and I'll. So the other stat that I found, 96% of marketers find that personalization increases the likelihood of repeat customers. Getting feedback, looking at your audience segments, looking at your personas consistently. Well, knowing what they are interested in. That's again, if you go back to the screen where it had validation, I love that because you now
because you've separated, you can validate whether it's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
There's a logic.
And what I like about that stat and thinking about it that way is it is so much less abstract.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
To know who your current customers are and build a persona that defines them, it's going to be so much more accurate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to have top of the funnel value as well. So you're doing something to make sure that bird in hand is better than two in the bush. You want to maximize the value you can get, make sure your existing clients are continually satisfied, that they repeat with you, understanding their motivations, where they are in their buying cycles, what demands and pressures they have on them, what excites them, what motivates them, is going to help you refine your offer, whether that's content, product, outreach, what have you. And it's likely that if you've got a customer already like that, there are at least another one out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Probably many, many, many more out there.
I also like this a little bit of an analogy when I worked for one of the largest soda companies, kind of pick one or two. And we did the persona. What I found was really interesting when we were building up the use cases for each one of those, that there were personas that they were putting in there that not everybody agreed with. Why is this part of a persona? Why is this part of the audience segmentation? Is this part of the persona we're looking for? And then all of a sudden you have business units and key stakeholders from different parts of the business going, hey, wait a second. Our messaging isn't going out to this person. It was going out to this type of person. So it's really good to start
with your existing well-known client base. So I think, and then also through the research and reading that I was doing on this, I found an article and some data published by HubSpot that basically had the conclusion and built out the argument that you will find 4 to 8% higher marketing ROI by doing proper audience segmentation. And I mean, I don't think it gets any more compelling than that.
And HubSpot has that data.
For all the things that we were saying you will find, the ultimate value can be dramatic multiples of any effectiveness that you've already got.
Absolutely.
Direct outreach, knowing who you're talking to. We're repeating ourselves now, but it is such a compelling case for getting this done. So we've shared a template for persona building. There are some other tools available that we use that we encourage you to go explore. The fact that ChatGPT is so good at creating a robust persona for you baffles my mind that we don't all have good, robust personas at the ready.
And again, depending on industry, you can use the other AI like Claude.
It's not just ChatGPT that's good at this. It's AI.
Any of these foundational AI.
And so I'll come back to AI 1 to Z in a minute, actually. UXpressia is the tool that we use for crafting, laying out our personas. So we'll use ChatGPT. We'll have conversations with our clients. We'll ask the right questions. We'll synthesize that and quickly distill it using AI to find efficiency and add value. And then we'll use UXpressia as our tool for organizing that information and actually creating the individual personas. Miro, or there's other online whiteboarding tools, are sort of part of that toolbox for us as well. Even Figma and whatnot. From an analytics perspective, then you enter the realm of, okay, sure, I did this and you told me 4 to 8 times ROI, but how can I know if I'm actually getting that benefit? Have I optimized my delivery of this content to that audience segment properly? Stop asking that question. Just get the answer. Sitefinity Insight has got a wicked tool for capturing content ROI.
Again, this goes back to the importance of what I think is validation. That's what Insight is there for, is to validate that what you're creating, the audience segments, the personas that you're looking at, the content you're creating, it can be validated.
It's a full-blown CDP. It gives you that customer-centric view of your data. It lets you pull in information from other sources. We could go on.
Yeah. We have videos where we've shown this, but if you'd like something, we can walk you through it as well.
That's obvious. Yeah. Okay. The other diagram here, and I'll come back to AI 1 to Z now. I mean, we are in Canada. We'll call them AI 1 to Z. This sort of diagram on the right is the AI maturity model that we use to help clients sort of gradually increase their confidence with deploying AI into their experience.
Yeah.
Now, why do you want to do this? Because you can automate the process of producing the content, delivering the message to your audience segments. Through an iterative fashion, you can get more sophisticated. At least start with having a good, robust, AI-driven FAQ chatbot.
Yep.
Start there, please. It's easy. It's so simple. It's so cost-effective. You can then turn the dial. Literally, you can turn a dial and add sophistication to get that into a more robust research assistant, to then have more understanding of the user journey on your site and contextualize that to provide more of a guided personal assistant on the website. 4
different segments.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one person could be part of one audience segment, another could be coming in, and AI 1 to Z, or there's other ones out there, but AI 1 to Z is what we use.
Yeah.
It will deliver that for those users.
Yeah. And when you're ready, we're going to help you do autonomous agentic experiences.
Again, if you contact us, we could literally demo this. And
I think they all know to contact us.
Yeah. Sorry,
I'm excited about there's new alignment on AI agent protocol.
Yes.
So that this
I just saw
easier. That. Yeah. Okay. So audience segmentation is so powerful from an ROI perspective for your digital experience, whether that's commerce, whether that's content, you name it. We've got some tools at our disposal, and you should come to our event, and you should keep showing up at all of our digital experience workshops.
Yeah.
Quick case in point, the work that we did for American Air Filters found the exact same thing that we've just been advocating for, revamped things, and then they went from having kind of a dog's breakfast of inbound leads to 96% of the leads coming through turned into fully qualified leads.
I love
through that engagement. We did all kinds of work there, but I just love that stat and thought I would highlight that and footnote this whole conversation with that detail. So if you're curious about anything,
get in touch.
Follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll get notified when we are doing all of these workshops every month. Would love your feedback. Would love to hear from you, even just about the content, even if you don't have any questions about it. If you want us to keep doing these, if you want us to shut up and go away, if you got a different topic that you'd like us to provide some coaching on, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, everybody. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Cheers.